faith of a mustard seed. Get up on your feet, rise up.
Hello, welcome to another segment of the Drexwell Seymour Show. And today is, this month, the month of May, is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I thought it'd be fitting to invite someone, a licensed practitioner who, deals with individuals who for counseling or treatment. And of course, I thought one of the best persons to do is to have my cousin, Brenda Daley on. And with that said, I just want to thank Brenda for this opportunity that, I know she has a lot to do, but thank her for her time, for agreeing to be on this show. And with that said, I want to welcome Brenda Daley to the Drexwell Seymour Show.
Thank you, Drexwell. Thank you for allowing me the space to be here, to be able to express my thoughts around mental health during this month of May, during Mental Health Awareness Month. So my name is Brenda Daley, and I was born on the island of South Caicos in the Turks and Caicos Islands. And I immigrated to the United States while still in my early 20s. And this is where I continue to reside. Prior to my immigration journey, I worked as an elementary school teacher in the primary school in South Caicos. After immigrating to the United States, I continued to work in the classroom, in an elementary classroom. And then later on in life, I decided that I wanted to change professions. So I decided to go back to school and studied social work. I went ahead and completed my bachelor's in social psychology. And later on, I returned to do my graduate studies and obtain a master's in social work. And 2 years later, I obtained my independent license in clinical social work. So I am now a licensed independent clinical social worker.
Wow, what an incredible and impressive background. Congratulations on that. I tell you, so many issues in the world today. We all need to talk to somebody, and I'm so glad you chose that profession. So what does a licensed independent clinical social worker, what does that mean?
So being a licensed independent clinical social worker means that I can practice independently. I don't need to work with an agency or an organization. I could open my own practice and practice without the need for having supervision. I currently work at a health center in the community in Boston, Massachusetts, as a licensed independent clinical social worker, but I also practice privately in regards to providing consultation for other agencies and organizations that provide social work services for children and families. And I also privately supervise social workers that are trying to become licensed at their first and or second level of licensure.
Wow. So, Brenda, I know you were a teacher, as you mentioned, introduction, and why did you choose to pursue this route? Why didn't you continue in education? Why did you choose to go into social work?
Inherently, I am a person that likes to help. I chose to become a social worker because I saw the need. There are so few licensed social workers of color, and I think that is not just for an area in terms of where I live. I think worldwide, we tend to see that. It's a profession that is very much lacking in persons of color. I saw the need. I felt I had the skills and the abilities with going to school and being able to obtain the education to get into that field. And that is one of the things that attracted me to want to become a social worker. And I chose the field, the track of becoming a clinical social worker because I felt like I had the skills in that area to be able to provide clinical social work in terms of psychotherapy to patients. But however, that doesn't mean that as a licensed independent clinical social worker that I only focus on a patient's psychotherapy needs. I also ensure that a person's basic needs are also met. So whether I make a direct referral or I refer the patient to a case manager to provide resources such as shelter, food, clothing, financial assistance, that's what I do. Because oftentimes you're not able to accomplish getting through to patients in terms of their mental health needs if they are facing eviction or they are facing not knowing how they're going to feed themselves or their children. So basic needs is an important aspect of a patient's needs when you are doing an assessment to provide psychotherapy services.
Wow, that's some valid points. I never thought about it from that perspective, but you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yes. Now you mentioned that you moved to the US in your early 20s and then you went and got your bachelor's and then your master's. So how long have you been in this field? Of course, I don't want you to reveal your age, but how long have you been in this field?
And I'm not going to give you my age. So I have been working in the field of clinical social work for the past 23 years.
Oh, okay. Wow. That is almost 25, almost quarter of a century. You know, there's a stigma, Brenda, associated with mental health. It's not just in the smaller islands. I mean, throughout the world, there seems to be a stigma, and people are afraid to even talk to somebody about it. They don't even want people to even know that they're getting counseling. What advice would you give to the viewers about this stigma and to remove this, to encourage people to seek help?
Yes, stigma, I totally agree. Stigma is a huge aspect in regards to why individuals needing mental health care do not come in or seek out mental health services. Public stigma involves, the negative or discriminatory attitudes that others have about mental illness. And then you have the self-stigma, which relates to negative attitudes, including internalized shame that an individual may have about their mental illness. It's time that as a society, no matter where you live, whether it be in the United States or in a place like Turks and Caicos or anywhere in the world, that we address the stigma that is attached to mental health. Because without mental health, we would struggle for our physical health to be okay. Without having good physical health, we would struggle for our mental health to be okay. We have to address the stigma that is attached to mental health. I remember growing up on the island of South Caicos as a child and being witness to individuals being referred to with derogatory names if they were experiencing some mental health challenges. Later on in life, I began to realize that was a lack of understanding, a lack of ignorance, a lack of awareness in regards to exactly what was going on with mental health. And I think with education and exposure, individuals can learn how to address people that may be facing mental health challenges. You know, it's time that we break the stigma as well as access to care and allow people to be okay and to be comfortable to come forward to say, I need help.
Yeah. You know, I had this conversation with Dr. Slattery and Tinashe. They have a mental wellness center. And during the discussion, they were saying how man, the man is under a lot of pressure to act like a man, whatever that means. And so they do not express their emotions. They keep things into them. They keep a lot of things to themselves. You find women are expressing themselves more than men. Do you agree with that? Do you find that?
Yes,
happening?
I totally agree with that. And it goes back to society, how we raise males versus females. Men are taught, you know, to man up, be strong. Men are not supposed to cry. Only females do that. And, you know, it's something that I have seen some progress over the years in regards to some of that changing. I have male patients that I see, young men as well as middle-aged and older gentlemen who come in seeking care. It's still there, but, you know, in terms of, you know, my social work world, it has gotten a bit better. With men being able to recognize it's okay to go in and speak with someone. But as a society, we really need to address that and open avenues and educate people so that men feel comfortable seeking mental health care. Mental health is not just for females, it's for everybody, because we all have mental health. We may not all have a mental illness, but we all have mental health.
Wow, I'm glad you end with that in your statement, because that's what I want to ask you. Another question, you said we all have mental health. So that's why I want to ask you, can anyone experience mental issues?
Yes, anyone most definitely can experience mental health issues. Mental health does not discriminate with age, socioeconomic background, sexual orientation, culture, how you identify yourself. Anyone could have a mental health illness.
Now, what do you say to those people who refuse to get help? I mean, they feel that they're not even going to, they feel it's not even going to work. They feel that they were born this way. They feel it's a generation curse. They don't think it's going to make a difference. What do you say to people who refuse to get help?
Well, first, I would explore with the individual in regards to what is their reluctance, because people refuse mental health services for various reasons. A lot of people are ashamed that if the neighbor or their friends or family member knows that they are seeking mental health services, how they would be looked at or thought of, how they would be viewed. So I would initially explore with a person, like, what is their reluctance in seeking mental health services? I would also provide education for individuals in terms of, you know, letting them know that first there is help, and that, you know, oftentimes refusing to get help for whatever reason, your mental health could deteriorate. And when it begins to deteriorate, it could greatly impact your ability to function and do the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. And a lot of times, you know, that deterioration can also include possibly becoming hospitalized. So, you know, I would do my best to educate people that it is important to seek mental health services if you are feeling in a certain way. And also, you know, as much as possible to normalize it, validate a person's feelings, normalize it in terms of you go and you get your annual physical checked up from your medical provider. It's okay to get a mental health checkup. because they both go hand in hand. They both work together.
Mm. So as a licensed independent clinical social worker, I know your days vary, but on an average day, what is it like in your role?
Most days are pretty busy, Drax.
I believe you.
Like today, for an example, it's pretty busy. So let's see, during the day, I, could come into work and have a schedule. My days are usually anywhere from like 8 to 10 hours. I could have 8 to 10 people schedule on my schedule for the day, but that doesn't mean that I would only see 8 to 10 people because there is crisis. When you work in a community health center, crisis is always happening. Crisis in regards to, it may be one of your patients coming in terms of being in a crisis, not feeling well, not feeling safe, and need to be hospitalized. Or it may be someone without an appointment, just walking in, seeking help because they don't feel safe and need to be evaluated and possibly hospitalized. So I have my schedule of individual, it's a combination of individual adult clients as well as youth, as well as family therapy sessions. I also spend my day providing one-on-one supervision for the social workers that I work with. And, trying to resolve any issues or concerns that may come up in the department as an associate director of behavioral health. Whenever there are clinical issues that come up in the department, then Brenda's who they look for.
But you have a very important role.
Busy.
Yeah. So with all these hours you put in, and of course you have your private stuff that you do as well. I mean, doesn't this put a strain on your emotions as well? And if it does, I mean, how do you overcome that?
Yes, it does. It does. Social work, doing this work, it's not easy. It could be extremely challenging, but also rewarding at the same time. And it's important that as a provider of mental health services, that anyone doing this work, it's important that you take care of yourself, that you engage in activities to help you to stay grounded. So self-care is very important. It's a beautiful day today in Massachusetts, I must say. So I could hardly wait to get out of here, go home, change my clothes, get in some sneakers, and take a walk. And that is one thing that I do to help me stay grounded for my mental care. I've also learned over the years that it's important to say no. At times, if I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed and I'm asked to do something, to be able to say no, not at this moment, I will get to it, but I cannot get to it right now. And I know saying no for a lot of people is very difficult, but it's a way of taking care of yourself. When we talk about self-care, automatically people's minds would go to, going to get a massage or doing something that involves money. But engaging in self-care does not necessarily always mean, having to spend money. Taking a walk, talking to a friend, having a cup of coffee or tea with a friend or someone you love. So I find moments for myself that I could just sit and close my door, engage in some self-reflection. And I often try to do that between patients, just to regroup. It's important to do that.
Okay. Now, people watching the show and maybe have an inclination to, to pursue this field as well. I mean, I know you say you're in the classroom and all that, and your desire is to help and make a difference to people. What, in your opinion, in the last 20 years you've been in this field, what qualities do you think it takes to be an effective clinical social worker?
In order to be an effective clinical social worker, I think an individual has to have the passion. You have to have that innate passion to help, to be a helper. You also have to have the capacity to empathize. We do a lot of empathizing in this field. You also have to be reliable. People depend on you to be there, to be consistent, to be present when they come in for sessions or when they are requesting of you to respond to something that has to do with their mental health needs. Also, non-judgmental. We're not here to sit in judgment of the patients that we treat. However they choose to live their life and the choices that they make. We're not here to judge. Also, in terms of another role that I think social workers need to have is to be able to be dependable. Like I said, being available for people, be compassionate. Those are some of the aspects of, what I think a social worker needs to have to be able to help individuals.
Okay. Now, I know there are so many issues and there's so many mental health disorders. But what are some of the areas that people should come to a clinical social worker for? What sort of issues that people experience that you think that they should come to the social worker for?
So I would encourage anyone who may be experience sadness for a prolonged period of time and feel like they may be depressed or slipping into a depressive mode. If anyone is struggling with anxiety issues, any challenges in life that may be impacting your function, that kind of takes away or diminishes your ability to be able to take care of yourself, to, get up and go to work or go to school. You feel like, you have problems sleeping. I used to be able to sleep okay, and now I notice for the past month my sleeping patterns have been off. I stay up at night. I have so much going on in my mind. Any of those challenges that an individual may be experiencing, I would encourage them, seek help. Find someone that you can talk to, someone that you can trust, to get some help so that you could function at your full capacity.
And they can improve themselves.
Yes, they can improve themselves. You could be experiencing mental health challenges, and with getting care, you could improve yourself. And that's something I often emphasize to patients. I encourage patients. I have, I'm creating a space for you. I am here. I'm here as a vessel for you. There is hope. There is help. You can get better. And I often remind patients that, the work is shared. I'm meeting you halfway. If these are the things that I am recommending that you do to help yourself, I'm here to support you through that. But as a clinical therapist, I am not able to I can't do it all. There are things that you have to do, but the bottom line is, yes, there is help when you seek out help to address any mental health challenges.
I know a big issue for many of us is that we don't trust people. And so people are concerned about, confidentiality. What are your thoughts about this as a social worker? What advice or what assurance you could give people about the confidentiality aspect of their treatment with a social worker?
So confidentiality. Confidentiality is an extremely important aspect of providing care for patients with mental health challenges. At the very initial interaction with a person, with a prospective patient, you have to spend time focus on confidentiality because you want that individual to be able to trust that what they share with you stays in that space and doesn't get shared with anyone or other people. Therefore, confidentiality is extremely important. As a licensed social worker, we are bound by ethical standards to ensure that confidentiality is not breached. And if it is breached, it means that you could possibly face having your license removed and not being able to practice. And I often encourage patients in terms, and it's something that doesn't just come up at the initial meeting, but throughout treatment. Patients are reminded about confidentiality. And over time, patients begin to feel more comfortable and be able to trust you. And I know when I think about mental health in the islands, in the Turks and Caicos Islands, I know many of us are related. And I know that is probably a factor that would probably keep some individuals there from seeking the help that they need, so it's our job that people understand that confidentiality is important, and if it is broken, if it is breached, it's a very serious matter.
Yeah. So Brenda, I just want to thank you again for this opportunity. This was a formative show, and I think it's very fitting for this month, especially because of the Mental Health Awareness Month. Now, do you think is there anything else that you think that you'd like to say that we did not cover with the questions?
Yes, I would encourage individuals that, we think about mental health challenges, mental illness. I would encourage people to think about the preventive aspect. Oftentimes, prevention doesn't come up, especially when you're dealing with insurances that doesn't want to pay for prevention work. But each and every one of us can engage in prevention to preserve our mental health, to make sure it's in that positive state. I would encourage people to get up, get outside, take a walk, engage in nature, spend time with a friend, spend time with your loved ones, all these activities, do meditation, pray. All of those activities are very good activities that each and every one of us can engage in order to keep our mental health in a positive light so that we can function to our full capacities. And if you're at a place where you do feel like you are struggling a bit, you notice that changes may be happening with you, please seek out someone that you can talk to, because there is help and it does work.
That's a very good point. And preventative is the key, not only in mental health, it is everything in our physical and our health. That's important, trying to not to get to that point.
Yes.
So that's a very, very valid point that is applicable in all aspects of our lives. Well, Brenda, I just want to thank you again for being a guest on the Drexel SEMA show. I don't take this lightly at all, because I know you could be doing other things. So I appreciate this. I don't know if you want to say any closing remarks.
I just want to thank you, Drex, for allowing me the space to be able to come here and share my thoughts today. And I hope that, people that may take the time to view this piece are able to take something away from it and to be encouraged that there is help if you're feeling in a certain way, to be able to talk to someone. And then I know in the Turks and Caicos Islands, it's a very religious, spiritual community, which is amazing. And I know people pray, which is a strength that that individuals have. You know, just take the time and take care of yourself. You know, like we always say, you have one life to live, and your physical health depends on your mental health. Your mental health depends on your physical health. So thank you, Drex, for allowing me to be able here today, to be here today to do this.
Thank you again, Brenda. You've been watching the Drexel Stigma show, and I don't know about you, but I know that I am inspired and I'm encouraged. And I hope this is a wake-up call for all of us, because sometimes you might just look at certain families or certain, society, and we might feel that, you will not experience mental issues. But mental issues can happen to any of us, and not just, the extreme. The fact that you get stressed out, that's a mental issue. The fact that you become angry, the fact that you experience anxiety, those are mental issues. But you don't have to remain in that state. You can get help.
Right.
You can speak to someone like Brenda, who's a licensed social worker. And of course, we have individuals here in the Turks and Caicos who could do the same. And so the point is, seek help with someone who's licensed, who's experienced, who can help you. And I tell you, once you get the help, your life will be better.
Yes.
Nobody wants to walk around living a life, with these issues. And you don't have to. All you need to do is get help.
Yes. And Drex, I just want to bring to your attention, you see my little Turks and Caicos flag in the back there?
Trust me, that caught my attention.
I'm far away from home, but Turks and Caicos is always with me in my heart and in my mind. Love my country.
I know, Brenda. Brenda, I saw that. I was supposed to tell you about that. I saw that. I said, oh boy, she got that right in her office.
Yes.
I'm proud. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Drex. Take care. Bye-bye.